Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to our webinar, Empowering Futures Transformative Schools Digitalization in South Africa. Firstly, I would like to express my gratitude to each of you for joining us today. I'm thrilled to see so many of you here. Before we dive into today's sessions, I would like to mention that this webinar is being recorded. The aim is to ensure that those who could attend or for anyone who wants to revisit this insightful discussion. To ensure the quality of the session and minimize interruptions, all microphones are muted. However, I would like to invite you all to send any questions or comments using the chat box in your window. We set a period at the end of the webinar for question and answers. Now, I would like to extend a warm welcome to our estimated guests. Mr. Henry Kavuma, Chief Education Specialist in ICT in Education. Mr. Henry Kavuma is working for DBE and has dedicated his life to improving the quality of education in South Africa. And the teacher, Pariksha Lalman, a dedicated educator who successfully embraced the use of technology in her classes. Together, they will unveil the extraordinary journey of digitalization of schools in South Africa. It's an honor to have you with us, and we are looking forward to reading your valuable contributions to this webinar. Without further delay, let's get started. Our speakers have prepared some great ideas to share with us today. Thank you once again for being part of this webinar. Let's make these sessions insightful and engaging for everyone involved. Mr. Kavuma, the floor is yours.
I would like to say good afternoon to all who are in this webinar. As I've been introduced, my name is Henry Kavuma, and I work for the Department of Basic Education in South Africa. And I'm just going to dive straight into my presentation because of time constraints. The first thing that I would like to bring to your attention is that we do have, in the implementation of ICTs in education, we do have global agendas as well as national agendas that we seek to accomplish or seek to fulfill. There are global agendas that, like the Education Agenda 2020-30, we have the SDG 4, we have continental, that is African Union agendas, like the AU Agenda 2063. All of them speak to ICT usage in leveraging on ICTs in education. But also in South Africa, we do have what we call the National Development Plan. That is the plan that is aimed at that maps out what South Africa wants to do by 2030, and it also speaks to leveraging on ICTs to mitigate educational challenges. Every year, we do have our president, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. He addresses the nation, and that is what we call the State of the Nation Address. In brief, we call it the SONA, standing for state, or for O and N for national address. And he spoke about, if you can look down, he says that over the next 6 years, we will provide every school child in South Africa with digital workbooks and textbooks on tablet devices. But of course, despite that, we have challenges. And as such, we try to find solutions to those challenges in order for us to deliver on the commitments that are made by the president. Later on, I'm going to talk about schools that he talked about. For example, at the bottom, he says, we will start with those schools that have historically most disadvantaged and are located in the poorest communities, including multi-grade, multi-phased farm schools, rural schools. Those are the schools that we need to start with. And therefore, we have to come up with different models in order for us to be able to implement ICTs in those particular schools that he would like us to start with. We also have an e-education policy. This is the policy that informs, or the framework that informs, how we implement ICTs in the whole of South Africa, and that we call it the white paper on e-education. And it has got a specific goal, which we haven't yet achieved due to various challenges, but we still aspire to achieve it. Now, if I may move on to the challenges that we face, we have quite a number of challenges that we face as South Africa, like limited funding, like security, equipment is being stolen from schools, the digital divide. Some provinces, some schools are different levels of ICT implementation. There are other competing priorities, like we need to fix schools and so on and so forth. Digital skills and competences of teachers. Those are some of the challenges, but I'm going to focus on only two challenges still because of time constraints. And one of the challenges, I think the biggest challenges that we have is the challenge of lack or limited connectivity. I don't know how it is in other countries, but I assume that in many countries in Africa, or in many countries and in many developing countries, they do have this problem of the lack, and or either there's no connectivity at all, or there is limited connectivity. And that actually impedes a lot of things in terms of if you want to do online teaching and learning, if you want to access online resources, it's a problem. So yeah, it is a big limitation. And we need to look at what ways can we mitigate these kinds of challenges, like the lack and limited connectivity. There are about 20% of schools in South Africa out of the something like 22,500 public schools. Only about 20 have got connectivity that is adequate for teaching and learning. And when I say this, I say teaching and learning. Many schools have got connectivity, but it's only enough for administration. But when it comes to teaching and learning, it becomes a problem because you can't use videos and so on and so forth because of the limited bandwidth. So in other words, when I say 20%, I mean that those are the schools that have got over 10 megabytes per second, that have access to over 10 megabytes. But otherwise, others have got just 4 megabytes per second or 1.5 megabytes per second, that kind of thing, and basically 3G. So that is one. Then the other thing is that we have the schools that the president was talking about. These are what we call the small non-viable schools. You find a school that has got only 135 learners, just only 135. And therefore, you cannot give them a full complement of teachers. Which means that a school that has got 8 classes, grade R, grade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, those are 8 classes. But they only have 5 teachers in the school, including the principal, including the head teacher. Now, all of them have got to teach, but still they can't finish all the classes. So what they do is that you put 2 grades into one room. You put grade 1 and grade 2 in one room. You put grade 3 and 4 in one room with one teacher. So one teacher is teaching different classes, different groups of learners. So you need to find ways in which that particular teacher can be assisted or supported in terms of how do you teach 2 different classes at the same time? I mean, the curriculum is different from one grade, and another one is the other one is different. So those are the kinds of schools that the president was talking about. Then now I'm talking about how do we mitigate such a solution. So for us at the national department, our job is really not to implement e-education or ICT programs. It is the job of provinces. But what we do is to look at models and different practices that can actually help the provinces in terms of scaling out this kind of projects to support schools. And so this is one of the projects that we are using. It's like a pilot project, but it's modeling best practices in terms of how can you have a school with no connectivity, but able to implement e-education or e-learning. So in terms of the e-library project, we call it the e-library project. It's aimed at mitigating the challenges that I've mentioned before, the lack of connectivity, which limits the accessibility to digital content resources. And therefore, we are looking for an offline solution, okay, for accessing digital content. Then the other one was, the other challenge was the small non-viable schools that we call the multi-grade schools, which have got inadequate resources, not enough teachers. So how can you then provide them with a solution that will give them that feeling and that experience of e-learning, of online learning, but yet they are offline? So there we use the cloud-based platform with a learning management system. Well, sorry about that. Now, this solution that we call the e-library solution, we call it a digital library solution. We just gave it that name because what we have as the main digital library resource is actually the microcloud C3 content server. That is our digital library where all our content sits and where all the learning actually takes place, because that's where the LMS is and that's where the content resources are. So it's the central piece of the whole solution. We could put content on the laptops, but then when you put it on the laptops, only the person sitting in front of the laptop is able to access the content on the laptop. But when you have that digital library, that is the micro cloud content server, multiple learners can access content. They can even do their learning at the same time using that one device, which you cannot do if everything is loaded on the usual generic servers or loaded onto just the laptop. So this is the kind of solution that we give out to schools. We give them one content server, then we give them 20 laptops, 2-in-1 laptops, and then we give them a data projector. The reason for this is basically simple: is that the laptop gives the learner the ability to access the content on the cloud-based, the mini cloud content server. You must have a device, an end user device to access the content which is sitting on the digital library. Then we give also them a projector, simply because you can actually use the projector with one laptop and the C3 in that, and then you can be able to do what we refer to as a one-to-many. You can be able to use just one computer and you can address the needs of many learners in your classroom, whether they are 40 or whatever number it is. So that's why we give them a data projector as well. But otherwise, the content, the device that is the laptop is able to give each learner a one-to-one feeling of using, but mostly we support the idea of sharing, because sharing brings about collaboration and peer-to-peer engagement. All those are 21st century skills. So that is the solution that we give. We have one digital library, 20 laptops, and then one data projector. Now, some of the advantages that we've seen, using this particular content server is that you don't need internet. Therefore, for example, a small non-viable school with limited resources, no funding, has no money for internet. And therefore, any solution that you give them that does not require internet is very welcome. So you find that that requires no internet. It also provides a cloud-based access. Remember, I've told you that if you have just a laptop and content is on a laptop, you don't have that cloud-based experience. So that is very important, to provide them with a cloud-based experience so that many learners can access learning and resources at the same time. We also look at the issue of library rooms. Schools don't have extra rooms to use as a library. Schools don't have money to have librarians. So we eliminate all that need, the need for an extra room for a library, the need for a librarian, we eliminate all that. Then also our solution, because we use laptops, we use a portable, easily mobile server. It's mobile and versatile. We can use it as a library resource, but also we can use it as e-learning in the classroom. So it has a dual purpose. Provides library as it works as a library, but also can be used in the classroom for teaching and learning, which we refer to as e-learning. Then it is easy to manage, unlike a physical library. It offers a multiple formats or multiple content resources, unlike a library that has got physical print books. With a print book, you can't provide videos. You cannot provide audio. You cannot provide EPUBs. So this gives us the latitude in terms of providing our schools with multiple formats of content resources. It also offers stimulating and engaging content, which we have loaded onto the server, like simulations, animation, interactive and other videos, like we have the Khan Academy videos, we have fit simulations, and so on and so forth, which are now available to small schools which don't have resources. They also have access to these things, the same things that a school that has got internet in the urban centers also has. It offers a module learning management system, just like a school somewhere in the urban areas. And also it is appealing and very simple for users because the e-library solution has got a an interface, a user interface. So I'll show you the user interface that we have on the cloud-based server. This is your cloud-based server, which I said is the core unit of the whole solution. And it's able to store our content, but not only store, but also deliver it in terms of distribution to end users or to learners. Some of the advantages I've already talked about, I'm not going to repeat them. Things like we have offline access, we have to preloaded content. We have a lot of content as DBE, which is free, which we have developed, and also from our partners. So we don't need internet for them to be able to access this content. Then also I talked about the multi-grade schools where you have different grades in the same classroom. They are able to access different content resources, different lessons, different assessments at the same time because of the cloud-based solution. Also, I talk about the Moodle learning system. Of course, that's where your learning takes place, but the learning is offline. As long as the teacher has prepared his lessons or her lessons, as long as the resources are linked to the learning management system, there is learning that will take place the same way as if you had an online classroom in a Moodle learning management system. But this is offline. Yes, there are limitations, we have to say, because you don't have as much latitude as the one online, but in this case, you can at least still do e-learning. It can provide teachers with access to preloaded lesson plans, which are loaded on the micro server, activities, assessments, and they can do a lot with artificial intelligence. Leveraging on artificial intelligence. They can be able to attend to the needs of multiple grades at the same time. It can provide teachers with tools for differentiated instruction. That is the same thing that I'm talking about, differentiated instruction, because you have a multi-grade class, a class that these have got a different curriculum and these ones have got a different curriculum or syllabus, but you can attend to them all at the same time using this particular solution. I've said it's portable, and we also receive a UPS with the micro cloud, just in case power goes off, which happens a lot in South Africa. Then the user interface, I talked about it. Then you also have the advantage of self-paced learning. Remember, different learners are doing their work on their own, and the teacher is focusing on other learners in the same classroom. So the learners are able to work on different, on their own, at their own pace and looking at different content and assessment. We have about 181 sites where we've provided this particular solution in different provinces. This is the interface. When you log on to the cloud-based, the microcloud server, this is the landing page. And then you are able to click onto whatever you want to click on to take you to wherever you want to go. And this is the kind of content that we have, or the channels that we have. We have the main content, reading resources. All of them have been loaded onto the microcloud server. This is what you get because it has got a search engine as well. When you are looking for content, it has a search engine, and you are able to select what resources you want to access. This is what you get. The moment you click search, you'll get a list of resources from which you are going to select. What we have done as well, I hope it's very clear, is that we've created the same thing, which is offline. We've created it online, so that when you're at home and the content server is at school, you can be able to access the same things. The interface is the same, everything is the same, except that this online one has got more content. So we have an offline and an online. Remember, like, for example, when we had, COVID, people were at home, the micro servers are at school, but you can have the same experience or the same content. You can access the same things as if you are accessing what is at school. So we have online and offline, the same thing. Then on the laptop, this is what we put on the laptop. We put applications and so on and so forth. All this is on the laptop. Then how do we support our schools and our teachers who have got this solution? We have mediation workshops and utilization workshops in training them on how to use this particular solution. We support them by going to the schools on site, physically going to the school to be able to support them school by school. Then we have WhatsApp groups also that we use in order to resolve problems and challenges, in order to share best practices, in order to see what each school is doing. These are some of the impact that we've seen. This is one school somewhere in Maluti, which is doing very well, based on this little solution of 20 laptops and a C3 server and a data projector. And this lady has been all over. I think she recently was in China, but they're doing very well. This is the impact. Then I'm very glad that Pariksha is going to speak, because I'm very proud of her as well, because of what she's doing in terms of this little project that we started. Many schools are doing very well. It's just that maybe not everybody can receive accolades and whatever, but I know many schools which are part of this project are doing very well. That is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kavuma. It's a great pleasure to hear you and for you to share your insightful presentation and let us know all the efforts that the Department of Basic Education are doing. Now we will have the teacher Pariksha with us, that does also share with us some insightful information and this experience using the technology in her classes. Pariksha, please go ahead.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very delighted to be given this platform to share my experiences with integrating technology into education. Well, I was first introduced to e-learning in 2020 by Mr. Kavuma and his team from DBE, as well as Mrs. Estubazana from the KZN Department of Education. Now, the slides will illustrate my attempts to establish a smart classroom under constraints such as limited access to internet, limited devices, like 20 devices for a school complement of 1,079 learners, as well as having large class sizes, which comprises about 44 to 45 learners. So as I navigated the e-library solution and the C3 content server, I realized the importance of tech-based pedagogy. Most of our classes have learners classified as the Gen Zs or the Alpha learners, who are our youngest learners on earth, born in the great screen age, born in the digital world, and practically living through screens. They have short attention span and crave to engage in videos and games. Our alpha learners are always connected through technology, which requires us as educators to flip our classrooms from the traditional to a blended learning approach. So using the C3 platform to access Moodle and Big Blue Button, an online platform was created. The following video demonstrates how learning is taking place in a meaningful and collaborative manner. Let's watch.
Okay, I'll tell you more about it just now. You have. Oh, that's wonderful. Right. What does the name Tula Tula mean? Who knows? Shh.
Keep quiet.
Keep quiet.
In an attempt to further enhance teaching and learning, I use various other programs and applications to make learning more magical and more impactful. And I am currently exploring the use of artificial intelligence in our classrooms. Moving on to the next slide. I utilize the Google Read Along app, which is centered on students and provides valuable assistance to those grappling with reading challenges. Let's watch.
Don't lose me, Tiny Mouse tell his brothers.
Wow, that was fast.
They race each other on toy cars.
Great going.
They go up and down on the merry-go-round. They go up and down on
Read
the
this out
merry-go-round.
loud. Round.
They go up and down on the merry-go-round.
Excellent. You are reading really well.
And now we'll see how an educator teaching science uses a mobile app during a science experiment, and this app can be played on a laptop via BlueStacks. This provides a platform that is interactive and gamified. Let's take a look. Now, the upcoming slide illustrates the utilization of the DBE CAPS interactive workbook in a reading lesson.
Everyone? The hay and the can you spell the word hay? Again. Everyone?
Thus, learners are actively engaged in working collaboratively as well as independently. As we move ahead, you will see a demonstration of how technology is incorporated into a lesson to encourage students to dance, sing, and foster diversity and inclusivity in a manner that is suitable for especially our kinesthetic learners. Now, I'd like to discuss the reading crisis. According to the Progress in International Reading Literacy study, the majority of grade 4 learners struggle to read for comprehension. Let's see how technology is used to enhance story by adding elements like sound, animation, color, and other graphics, creating a magical learning experience and appealing to learning styles that are leaning on visual and auditory learning styles.
Let's read South Africa. The new pet. Mary Ann stroked the little pup in the purple color. He pricked up his ears, wagged his tail, and stared at Mary Ann with his appealing brown eyes. Mary Ann looked around at the other animals in the shop. She looked at the 6 pups lying in the basket. Then she bent down and carefully picked up the puppy.
Likewise, in dealing with the reading crisis, I believe in extending learning to the informal setting as well. I created a reading channel on YouTube, on TikTok, on Facebook called Let's Read South Africa. Now let's get carried away with the use of Google Earth to teach a topic on direction. I find the content interactive, analytical, and impactful. It certainly promotes lifelong learning.
That is our school. What do you see? Hands up. Hands up. We're learning about direction. What do we see? Tell me landmark. Okay. What is this picture called? The junkyard. Right? Let's find another landmark. There's Redcliffe School. What is opposite Redcliffe School? What is the landmark there? Isn't it the clinic? Right? Right. Now?
And now let's turn to a story called A Nancy Goes to Lunch and see how it can be integrated using technology. For this, I use Google Maps in the classroom. It helps to create a visual experience, allowing students to connect to the larger world, as well as it promotes dialogue and collaboration.
Wow, listen to this. Let me tell you something about this. Everyone listening. Tell me where you come from. Turn around and tell me.
Zwane Street.
He comes from
Zwane Street.
Zwane Street. Where about is Zwane Street? In which?
Using technology to stay connected to the world virtually enhances the learning experience to a large extent. Dreams become a reality by simply using technology. Most learners have dreams about going abroad and exploring a country, but but through technology, this dream becomes a reality. I was fortunate to visit this school in India and also realize my dream too. Let's watch.
Okay. I want to introduce you to one of my students, and she's just going to say a little bit about herself.
Good morning, my name is Alan Bessie and I'm from the Primary School. And I would like to first congratulate you about Teachers Day. And I'm the head girl of the school. And I would also want to ask you if
Moving on, we have an ICT club at my school to bridge that digital divide, to introduce digital skills, to support the fields of science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, ensuring our learners are capacitated with education and careers that is in demand globally. The launch of this first ICT club in KZN public schools took place earlier this year after much collaboration amongst leading subject specialists in the field. And these were some of the messages of support that poured in. And finally, an initiative of the ICT Club at Redcliffe Primary School, we celebrated Global Scratch Day. The aim was to encourage learners with computational thinking and explore their creativity through the animations, the games, and interactive stories that they were creating. Our learners thoroughly enjoyed this day, scratching and sharing their creations with the rest of the Scratch Global community. Let's take a look.
Another banger, baby, calm down, calm down. Yo, this your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom, phantom. If I tell you say I love you, you know they for me, young girl, oh young girl. No, tell me no, 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 oh, 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 oh. Baby, gon' give me your lo, 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 oh, 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 oh. You got me like whoa, 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 whoa. Shawty gon' give me your lo, 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 whoa, 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 whoa. I see this fine girl from my party, she wear yellow. Every other girl they do too much, but this girl mellow. Now in my divine situation, I go use they tell I'm mellow. Finally, I find way to talk to the girl, but she ain't no one follow. Who you gonna phone for? When you know
And this brings us to the end of my presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Pariksha. Was a delight to hear what you shared. It's a very a great job that you are doing, and thank you very much. Dr. Kavuma, I believe you wants to say something.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to indicate that one of the key things in terms of technology as we move forward is the issue of inclusivity. It's very key to us in terms of nobody should be left behind, whether you are in the rural areas, whether you are in the urban areas, whether you are you are living with a disability, you are in a special schools, nobody should be left behind. And we need to find all kinds of models there are so many, there are all kinds of models in order for us to be able to ensure that there is quality and there is inclusivity. Yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
No, definitely. You are totally correct, Doctor. It's very, very important to ensure that the students in rural areas, in city centers, have the same possibilities to learn and to grow up in the same level. It's very important. So, I'd like to move forward with the question and answers part. I have some questions to put for our guests. The first one is for Mr. Kavuma. Mr. Kavuma, what is the most significant feedback you have received from teachers regarding the use of these technologies at the schools? Good question.
I have a very simple answer. The answer is that the feedback. Pariksha who has just made a presentation. She is one of those people who are part of this particular project. And for me, my thinking, what I've seen during the time that from the time the project started in somewhere in 2019 to where we are right now, is that teachers have become motivated. It's like they were switched on just by 20 laptops and the C3 content server and the data projector. It kind of like stimulated them, which shows you exactly what teachers can do. If you can give them some little support, some little training, they'll just run on their own. At the moment, as I speak, many schools are just flying. They're just flying. It's just that the resources are limited. You can't give them more, but they're doing very well. I think one of the feedbacks, if I may be direct, is the fact that they are able to do a number of things. For example, because of the 20 laptops, many of them are able to do coding and robotics, just because of the 20 laptops and the motivation. Many of them are able to access resources that they would not be able to access, like FET simulations. They are able to teach an electrical circuit. Even learners are able to do that electrical circuit using FET simulation. So they have access to resources that they would not necessarily be having. I think I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kavuma. Just to reinforce this one thing that you already touched on that point, but we really believe that the teachers have a key point on the process of digitalization the schools. Because if the teachers are not comfortable to use technology, it's impossible to share confidence to the learners. So teachers are the key users, I believe, on this process. Let me see. We have another. This case to teacher Pariska. What was the reaction of the school community, including students, teachers, and parents, regarding the use of technologies at the schools?
Lovely question. Our learners, all stakeholders of the school of Redcliffe Primary School in this community, they are absolutely thrilled, and they are very much embracing this way of learning style. Coming from this community where devices and connectivity is a real issue, having at least this 20 laptops has made such a great difference with teaching and learning. You've seen some of our video clips to show you how engaged our learners are in the lessons, and how well they respond to anything that is digital, that is using technology to enhance the teaching and learning. And it's really it's welcomed. I must say it is welcomed by all the stakeholders, by the governing school, governing body, the learners, the teachers. We even had it was for Youth Day. We even had a session where we provided training on digital skills and digital citizenship. And our youth were also trained on how to become more digitally inclined. So yeah, it's going forward with bridging that digital divide, and I'm sure the community is most welcome. They're welcoming the stance that we have taken.
Great. Thank you. Another question for you, Pariska. What are the most popular or insightful educational resources or tool available on the C3 or that you use?
On the C3, the Scratch platform, most definitely. It's the offline version, and I think that is something that we're using all the time. I'm an English teacher, and I use it most often during my English lessons. So if I'm doing a section on advertisements, instead of doing it on paper, I get the learners to scratch code. And we are incorporating two things at the same time, not only two things, many different skills we incorporating in the teaching. The PhET simulations is another pointer that is very, very relevant in the C3. This is what is available, the PhET simulations, and it actually creates that virtual learning experience. Learners get to interact with a virtual lab, and be able to realistically experience many things that you would not, if you don't have a lab, you won't be able to understand and experience. So yeah, those two things are really great pointers for the C3 content server that I utilize.
Thank you. Great, great. I just received, and not just directly for you, it's more for us, but a very interesting question. How can we have more of Parishkas and critical links willing to do such teachers to become ambassadors? I believe I could answer that question, and I could say that you could contact directly us. We are more than happy to help, to support in any case. Okay. And now, I believe this is more for Mr. Kavuma. Mr. Kavuma, we believe the working that DBE are doing is remarkable. Are DBE available to help and share some inputs with the Ministry of Education of other countries? Mr. Kavuma?
It takes a while for me to be able to unmute myself. I think the issue of sharing is very important. And I think every conference, every summit that is held, like I think there is a summit that is taking place. I don't know whether it starts tomorrow in Rwanda, the Innovation Africa Summit. Our deputy minister is there. Our chief director, who's responsible for e-education, is there. I know the deputy minister was in Senegal. There was a workshop, I think e-learning Africa or something. She was there. So we do share the best practices that we have at various forums whenever the opportunity arises. It's just that sharing, it's costly. It's costly that if you have to fly Mr. Kavuma to Senegal, fly him to Rwanda, to Kigali in Rwanda, all the time, it's quite expensive. So definitely webinars like this one that Critical Links has organized it can go a long way in terms of sharing best practices, and so that we improve actually the issue of e-learning on the continent as well as globally. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Another one for you, Dr. Kavuma, Mr. Kavuma. Code and robotics are topics that are becoming increasingly important. Are these subjects a priority for DBE? Or in the other one, does the DBE already have digital contents on these subjects? I believe the question is has the digital contents on these subjects is on the C3. But please, Mr. Kavuma. Mr. Kavuma, I would like to ask the administrator.
The administrator, I have to wait for the administrator to allow me to unmute myself. You talked about robotics and coding.
Exactly.
Robotics and coding. Okay, I think maybe I should stick to the question. there are quite a number of schools where coding and it is one of the priorities of the department and we are developing or finalizing the curriculum for robotics and coding. It's going to be part and parcel of our curriculum. And many schools are doing wonders because it has excited our children that they can be able to be creative, think critically, problem solving. All those things have been introduced in terms of robotic and coding. So it is central to what we are doing. It's just and many schools, especially primary school, because it is I don't know how many schools that each province is actually piloting or conducting robotics and coding, but it is something that is central to the Department of Basic Education. It's going to be part of our curriculum. Actually, as I speak right now, we have people who are sitting down and they're writing, they're trying to develop a curriculum or a framework for digital literacy from grade R to grade 9. So that is going to happen because we need to be moving towards providing skills for a changing world. We cannot, it's not business as usual. Otherwise, we shall be left behind. Yeah, I think that's so. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. I will have two more questions and we need to stop. I'm sorry if we cannot answer all the questions, but we have our time to hand. One question is the app open to other language or only English? I believe when say app, I believe is C3. I could answer the question. C3, we can have the C3 translated for the language that we could have. Just we need to, if you have some language that or more, for example, local language, we can work together to have that language on the C3. To finalize, last question. I believe this more for Dr. Kavuma also. So please, the administrator could unmute the Mr. Kavuma. The question is, there are about over 22,000 schools in South Africa, which over 80% with a limited or no connectivity. Is there a plan to scale your pilot project to other schools in South Africa?
I also will quickly answer that. In South Africa, we have a policy we have a plan. We have a plan and a policy in place to provide 1,800 schools with connectivity. No, 18,000 schools with connectivity in the next few years. It is it is going to be through the policy that's known as SA Connect, South Africa Connect, which is run by the Department of Communications and Digital Technologies. And through this particular policy, they are going to provide connectivity to a number of schools as well as devices. So yes, there are plans, and it's going to be happening very soon in terms of providing connectivity to all those schools. As to the times, as to what kind of solution that's going to be rolled out, you can never tell because technology changes all the time.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true. Thank you. I don't know. I saw that Pariksha's raised the hand. I don't know if she's had something to say.
Yes, I did wanted to add something regarding, in retrospect, regarding the C3 content server. I want to add that it has a learning management system that one can have access to, and you can plan your lessons so that it is, delivered in a blended style. And on this platform, you can also access the big blue button. As well as I want to add that the C3, you can an educator can create their own lessons, design your own lessons, and you can have it downloaded as well as loaded onto the C3 content server. So it's not, you don't need to only work with what is preloaded on the content server. You can download, you can create, download your own information and load it on so that whoever else has access to it in the school will have access to this resource as well. That's what I wanted to add. Thank you.
Yes, me too. Thank you very much. So, we do not have more time. We are going to answer by email the questions that were not answered here. So, I would just like to thank you, to say thank you to all that attend this webinar, but of course, especially to our guests, teacher Pariska and Mr. Henry Kavuma. Thank you very much, all, and hope to see you very soon. Thank you.
Thank you too, and thanks for everybody who has attended.
Thank you as well to you as well. It's been a pleasure to work with you guys as well. So the opportunity is most welcome, and thank you.